one thing I've noticed about your work consistently shows the power of love between two people, and the ways conveyed and expressed throughout the different films that you've been able to produce, and obviously a series now, has just been amazing to just witness it on screen. And I wanted to ask you, why is that so important for you, especially in this series, to convey that at such a time that they were in, where it's easy to hate another Black person, and you had Black workers who were whipping other Black workers. There was always a seed of lie, of betrayal, someone being deceitful, someone not knowing who to trust in our community in that present time. Why was it so important for you to convey love and the power of that?
It was important to me because, especially when I entered this project, one of the biggest thoughts, one of the biggest things in my mind was there had to have been loved in order for any of these people to have survived this process. And there had to have been loved in order for their descendants to come out of this process whole, in order for me to be allowed to do what I do. And so I never felt like I had to manufacture the love you're talking about. I just had to really just look for it and sort of know or anticipate where I feel like it would organically arise. For example, at the conclusion of probably the most brutalistic scene in the whole series, we cut to two hands, that are embracing and fortifying one another.
Yes.
Because I absolutely believe it was those kind of gestures that gave my ancestors the strength to carry on and endure.
Yeah, and it was very secret. It was always like a moment that we was going to share between you. I can see what you're seeing. I feel what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that moment, he said, "Yeah, we have to leave."
Yeah. I think he says, "It's time."
Yeah, it's time. It's time. So yeah, we take it from there. And I wanted to say, I'll ask you, diving into this, I'm sure that you must have been aware of the challenges that you might have faced. But now, having gone through this, having lived it, being it, rereading the story and the book over and over again, just to create some new angles and perspective. What were the challenges that you faced having done this now?
The biggest challenges, there were two. One was super logistical. It's like, 116 days is a lot of work. How do you protect yourself, both physically and mentally, and emotionally, to get through that? How do you protect the actors and the crew to get through that? And then, again, feature film versus cinema, in feature film, you might have this 50 scenes in a movie, and maybe 12 of them are really, really crucial. In this case, there's like hundreds of scenes in the show.
Yeah.
And every one of them is crucial, because every time Cora arrives at a new state, we got a whole new cast. We're telling a whole new story. So logistically, that was tough. And then the biggest thing for me was always being aware of the moral and the ethical responsibility that I have as an artist, as a person, as a Black person, recreating some of this imagery. And like I said, when you watch a feature film, you're a captive audience. And television is a little less captive, but I think because of the triggering nature of some of this imagery, it does feel captive. And so where's the moral and ethical line that I have to always be aware of? Because I don't want to slip into this place where I'm over sensationalizing this or that. And it was something that, because it's tough, man. Making anything is a very difficult task. It takes a lot of concentration. And then I have to have this other voice also working. It's like, I know you're making that thing, and you have to make it purely as an artist, but you always have to be aware of the perspective you're making it from. You have to be aware of what it's forcing people to feel and deal with. And so, yeah, it was tough, man.
Important for me to know that, what do you want your audience to take away from this? For someone that's been following your work and has seen you grow and develop, and obviously Moonlight, if Bleak Street could talk, and now this, what would you want your audience to take away from this?
I think it's not about me, for sure. It's much more about the story and these characters, and in particular for this project, it's about my ancestors. And it was interesting because before I even began this, when I was a child, I was obsessed with the Underground Railroad because I saw it as an actual thing. And then you learn the history, and you're still respectful and you're still awed by it, but it's not Black superheroes underground building trains. So that was that. That was why I wanted to make this, because I had to ask myself, do we need more of this imagery? Do we need more of these stories? And then I started looking at what Coulson was actually doing. You know, it's not that Cora is on this journey to try to defeat slavery. You know, she's on this journey to try to understand why her mother abandoned her and why this created this hole in her heart. And Coulson has parenting all throughout this book. You know, there are children everywhere. And if there's anything about the other films that have been made on the subject, it's the presence of children isn't as prominent as it should be based on the research I've done, because there were children everywhere, bruh. And so if there's anything a person takes away from this show, you know, Kanye went into TMZ and said slavery was a choice. And I'm like, well, what did they choose? You know, they had a few choices. You know, if everybody had taken up arms in revolt, which is, I think, what Kanye was trying to say, everybody would have died, because and from a system standpoint, this is a very militaristic operation. The weaponry, technology, communication, all these different things with disadvantages, everybody would have died. Didn't do that. What did my ancestors choose to do? We're trying to refer to them as enslaved now, which is about what was done to them, not what they did. What did they choose to do? They protected the children, bruh. They protected the children. They protected the children. That's what they did. And so if there's anything that I want someone to take from this show, it's to recontextualize my ancestors, because my ancestors are responsible for the greatest act of collective parenting the world has ever seen. That the world has ever seen. How else could the descendants, the children of those people, go on to be senators and entrepreneurs and filmmakers? How could we go on to have conversations with you about this work I've created to honor them? It's through nothing but the greatest collective act of collective parenting the world has ever seen, bro. And if anybody takes anything away from the show, that's what it is, man. Because there's parenting all throughout this thing, bro. 100%, and Cora's learning to mother, bro. I mean, watching Thuso go through this thing, and then Sheila Item, your countrywoman, who did an awesome bang-up job in that last episode, man. That's what it's about, bro.
Thank you. And we see that conveyed as Cora protected the child from being beaten in the opening scene.
Right from the jump.
Right from the jump.
Everything was about protecting the children.
100%. I even like
this
the part
world
of
is so hard, but we got to protect them children.
100%. I even like the part that after a punishment was laid, there was a child literally just watching them as they were there.
Exactly. And that kid comes back too, you know, because we talk about generational trauma, you know, and oftentimes we focus on acute trauma, the person who's being aggrieved. The fact that so many of these people had to witness this trauma as well should disincentivize anybody from saying this was a choice. I'll just leave it at that.
My last question will have to be this. I know you're writing a new script with Leonardo DiCaprio. When are we going to see that something like that come to life?
It's going to be a bit, man. I got so much going on, man. I got so much going on. And that one, just like this one, is something that I want to get right. You know, I want to get it right. I want to get it right. It's unfortunate that the world shut down before I could go visit the continent because I really wanted to, because I want to get that right, bro. I got to get that right. I think my work is shifting now. You know, in a way, I'm kind of working backwards. You know, Moonlight's kind of present day. Then I went to the 70s. Now I'm back here, you know, in these times of enslavement, you know, and I think I'm working my way. You know, Africans came across the water. I'm over here. I think I'm working my way back to the continent in this way, because a lot of stuff I'm doing right now, you know, even The Lion King is all about the continent in a certain way. But yeah, it's a tough one, man. You know, I can't say when, but it will be.